I am Shane Jones. Making headlines tonight. Government makes a major decision on the purchase of electric buses for the Transport Board. The payouts to former Cleo policyholders have begun. The BHTA worried about the impact of taxes on the tourism sector. And coming up in sports, Australia jumped into second spot at the Cricket World Cup after today's exciting win against Pakistan.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
Leading the news at 7, frustration and skepticism have given way to relief for many former policyholders of the failed Cleo International Life Insurance Company. Their change in circumstance comes from government fulfilling its promise to find a resolution to their predicament. As a result, some of them have been receiving checks over the past 2 days in a process that will continue for the next few months. Lisa Broom has more.
Several former Cleo policyholders flocked to Resolution Life's Worthing headquarters again today. Yesterday, officials held a consultation meeting to explain the repayment policy, which includes the issuance of bonds. Chairman of Resolution Life, Tony Hoyes, says the company started making payments at that time, and the process has been going well so far.
We had about 100 persons that we processed yesterday. As word has gotten out that we have started this, the payouts, there's been a lot more people today. We should get through about 400 by today. We're going until 6 o'clock every day, and we also are open on Saturdays too. So there's no rush to come early in the morning. We're here all day. But we expect that we will be doing this process for at least 2 months, but we'll stay as long as it's necessary to complete the payouts to everybody.
Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn, was on hand for part of the day. He says he interacted with some of those who came to collect, and based on their initial feedback, they did not expect to get a refund.
Persons have said to me they did not expect to see any money back, but they're here today seeing other persons receive checks, and that in a sense have brought some measure of comfort to them. So I think I am pleased with what is happening so far. Logistically there are a few things to work out, but I think that all in all persons are quite happy to see the process through.
Minister Strawn also explained again the part of the payment policy that will be done in bonds, which will pay cash on a quarterly basis over the next 15 years.
So the bonds is simply just a mechanism to give you the payments back if you're over $20,000 with respect to any particular fund value, and so therefore it allows persons to be able to plan. It also allows government as the finances, as we've mapped them out, to be able to pay persons with certainty over the next few years.
Corrine Boyce and Pauline Rudder were among those who got checks.
I am very happy that my Prime Minister have come to a conclusion to give us back our money, and I'm very happy and thank her very much.
I am not sure I understand everything that's going on. All I know is I expect to get back something from my investment.
The process is expected to continue over the next few months. Lisa Broom, CBC News.
The Transport Board has selected a company to purchase its new fleet of electric buses. Confirmation of this from Minister of Transport, Works and Maintenance, Dr. William Duguid, during an exclusive interview at the ministry's headquarters earlier today. Our Sharika Griffith joins us live now. Sharika, good evening. Tell us all about it.
Good evening to you, Shane. Now, you might recall back in January, the Transport Board hosted its very first bidders conference. It's no secret that the board has an aging fleet and is seeking to update those vehicles with between 120 and 180 electric buses. Now, because of that stipulation under the IMF program that the country not acquire any new debt, the conference was held in an attempt to identify a partner to bear the cost of acquiring those new buses and the necessary charging stations, of course. While Transport Works and Maintenance Minister Dr. William Duguid says they have identified that company.
That tender was awarded, but they're still in the negotiation phase. So it takes some time because you have to be very sure-footed and be absolutely certain. It's a new technology coming to Barbados. It's not something that we will enter into lightly. So we have to make sure that we get the right vehicles for our terrain, and also that the negotiations do not put us in a worse off situation.
Now, on another point, it has been 2 months since the bus fare was increased from $2 to $3.50. So I asked the minister whether they had seen a change in the number of people traveling on public transport. Here's what he had to say.
The public service vehicle people, strangely enough, have reported to me that they have seen a drop-off in utilization. And I think that I understand that because they tend to have the shorter routes, and people with shorter routes tend to have been finding other ways of getting into town for whatever reason. But the Transport Board has not reported any fall-off to me at this present time.
Of course, the introduction of breathalyzer testing is another topic that we needed to get some answers on. The minister says it's still very much on the table, but there are a few logistical issues still to be resolved, although he preferred not to say what those issues are at this time. He has, however, promised that they are working to get them resolved as soon as possible. Back to you, Shane.
Thanks so much, Sharika. Well, Barbados remains in danger of pricing itself out of the tourism market if it continues to increase taxes on the sector. This concern from Chairman of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, Stephen Austin, as he addressed the group's annual general meeting at the Lloyd Erskine Sanford Center this morning. Here's Lisa Broom.
In her budget earlier this year, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley announced a slew of taxes that would affect the tourism sector as she tried to spread the burden of the island's economic recovery. BHTA Chairman Stephen Austin says while they were able to stave off a planned doubling of the VAT rate to 15% by arguing it would make Barbados even more expensive, they're now concerned about how some of the levies are being applied. He says they've asked to have clarification in writing from the Director of Finance on the matter. According to Mr. Austin, members have also been crying out about the recently increased land taxes.
The increase in land taxes compounded with the increase in fuel tax as well as the garbage and sewage levy. The majority of our West Coast hotels, or any hotel not on the South Coast, are not connected to the sewage system and therefore have the ongoing cost of sewage plants and in many cases their own garbage collection. However, they still have the extra burden of the garbage and sewage levy.
Mr. Austin says they just implemented drought mitigation plan, which includes provisions like no watering of gardens, lawns or grounds, and no filling of tanks, baths and swimming pools will also be a challenge. And they've requested a meeting with Water Resources Minister Wilfred Abrams on the matter.
I believe that in the hotel sector we should have some sort of consideration in regards to filling of swimming pools. And it's just topping up of the swimming pool really that we're talking about. Because if the levels are lowered, the pumps wouldn't work and that could destroy the pumps as well. So we need to be sure that we have clear communication from the authorities on how we address our challenges we would face in the tourism sector.
The BHTA head says safety and security of visitors remain a priority, adding that the industry is relatively satisfied with efforts so far to curb gun violence on the island. He says recent feedback shows while people enjoy their stay, the level of drug and sexual harassment is still too high, especially in the St. Lawrence area, Carlisle Bay and 1st and 2nd Streets in Whole Town. He's recommending that government set up a crime task force committee to identify the challenges facing the industry. Lisa Broom, CBC News.
Meanwhile, Tourism Minister Kerry Simmons has told hoteliers that proportionality must be a factor when it comes to the question of taxes on the industry. He made the comment while delivering the feature address at the BHTA's AGM.
I don't think there's any doubt that we want to come to the table and that we want to make things happen. I don't think that there's any doubt that we want to re-stimulate investment confidence in Barbados. I don't think there's any doubt about any of those things. But on the other hand, the lead sector in this country's economy cannot be expected to be a sector which doesn't earn anything for the country to pave its roads or to buy garbage trucks or transport board buses or provide street lighting, or any of the other fundamentals that we must do, provide security. So to go down this road of not paying any taxes at all in the tourism sector would be to ask that we fail ourselves. And I don't think that that makes sense.
Barbadians need to take the current drought seriously. I sat down with Minister of Energy and Water Resources Wilfred Abrams today. He was quite frank about the drought mitigation plan. In a wide-ranging exclusive interview, Minister Abrams says the prohibition, which runs from June to August, is absolutely necessary.
The general feeling from Barbadians seems to be that they believe it's some kind of punishment. That the Barbados Water Authority or the government is imposing restrictions on them that limit the way that they can enjoy water or conduct business as usual. But it's not that. When we get to the point of issuing prohibitions and declaring a drought, it's because we've gotten to that point where it's critical. There's no choice but for us to do that, to preserve the water that we do have in the system so that it lasts as long as possible. What people need to realize is the water is a shared commodity. This is a shared asset, valuable asset. So the fact that you, because of your position on the lane or your position in the system, have a steady source of water almost constantly does not negate the fact that other people further down the lane may actually have an interrupted service or have a scarcity of water. So the prohibition is not meant to punish you. The prohibition is meant to secure a supply of water for those who would otherwise be affected. We know and we have heard the cries of the people who are affected. If we don't put this prohibition in place, the discomfort and dislocation felt by those people is going to be felt by everybody in Barbados. That is how serious it is.
People are saying, if I'm in my home, my backyard, I'm watering my own plants, nobody can see me, therefore this prohibition cannot be policed in any way. What is your response to that?
We know when people use above average amounts of water. We know how much water is used in a normal domestic circumstance. If your regular water consumption is X, we know when you're using above that. That's how we can tell when you have a leak. That's how we can tell when you have other issues. So there are ways for us to determine that your water usage has not changed or what your water usage is, and we will send people out to check.
Artists from 5 countries have joined the cast of local entertainers vying to win the international Bashment Soca Monarch competition. The National Cultural Foundation has released a list of 25 semi-finalists, 6 of whom are foreign acts. The NCF says this year has seen an increase in artists from overseas and females, an indication that the genre is growing and spreading internationally. Some of the popular entrants include first-timer King Bubba FM, returning overseas entrant Sita, the lyrical diva, Marsville, and former King Stiffy. 12 of the semi-finalists will be chosen by a panel of judges and voting by the public to compete against reigning international Bashment Soca monarch Low Rick. The winner will walk away with $60,000. Second place will receive $15,000 and third place $5,000. The competition takes place on July 6th at Pirates Cove. Checking in with our regional neighbors now, the president of Ghana has been conferred with Guyana's highest national award, the Order of Excellence. The Ghanaian leader was on a state visit to the South American nation. This report from HGP-TV News.
At the square, persons aligned the parameters of security to wave and echo songs of welcome to the visiting delegation. The vehicles and places visited by the President of Ghana were adorned with flags of both countries. The President then headed to State House to engage in talks with the President. Thereafter, he was conferred with Ghana's highest national award by President Granger.
The Cooperative Republic of Guyana today is pleased to confer on His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Guyana, the Order of Excellence of Guyana for his dedication and commitment to the Commonwealth, to the Organization of African Unity, to the Economic Community of West Africa, and for his unflinching support for the rights of developing states.
The visiting head of state was pleased with the conferral.
I'm very grateful, and I'm very, very concerned about how the two of us in our two countries can work together to promote the welfare of the interests of our people.
Trinidad and Tobago will not be extending past Friday the registration process for Venezuelan migrants in the CARICOM state. Registration got underway on May 31st, as we hear from CNC3 television.
Hundreds of Venezuelans outside the Achievers Banquet Hall in San Fernando are in a race against time. Toddlers, teens and adults are camping outside the hall located at Duncan Village. Some spread sheets on the ground, while others set up mattresses. The cold night and hard floor, many say, are nothing compared to what they would have had to endure in their home country. All that matters is ensuring they're able to take advantage of the window of opportunity presented to them by the Trinidad and Tobago authorities. With that window set to close by 5 p.m. on Friday, like the crowds, anxiety levels among the Venezuelans are also increasing. It's something the National Security Minister admits he has noticed as he visited and greeted those outside the hall on Tuesday morning.
We need you to remain very orderly, to form your lines, to listen to those in authority, the police and the defense force, because once you remain orderly, we will be able to do it as quickly as possible.
However, Minister Stuart Young says after Friday, that's it.
We've had the online process set up. We have been processing people. We are not going to be extending the registration process.
In Jamaica, residents of Tivoli Gardens in West Kingston turned out in their numbers to pay their respects to the late former Prime Minister Edward Seaga at the laying in state of his body at the Tivoli Gardens Community Centre. The former Prime Minister, who died on May 28th, represented them as Member of Parliament from 1962 to 2005. We have a report from TVJ.
I hope you didn't mind. A truck playing classical hits from the great Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole added to the somber mood at the Tivoli Gardens Community Centre, where Mr. Seaga's body lying stayed. Soldiers of the Jamaica Defence Force and officers of the Jamaica Constabulary Force maintained order. There was, as expected, a strong turnout. Everyone wanted to be a part of the experience, even those too young to know what to look for. The music, the setting, it was a very somber moment here at the Tivoli Gardens Community Centre. The people who turned up today for the viewing knew exactly what to expect. They knew it was a closed casket viewing, and they told me they had no problem at all with that. The brutal heat from the morning sun did not deter the hundreds who turned up to be a part of a one-time experience.